If you operate with the sensation that your brain has 37 tabs open and music is playing, you are describing a literal biological state. Burnout is fundamentally an energy management crisis. It occurs when the systems designed to process information become trapped in a loop of constant background activation. Your brain relies on working memory, the mental equivalent of computer RAM, to process immediate information. Right now, your working memory is consumed by invisible background processes that refuse to close. The explanation for this phenomenon was discovered in 1920s Vienna, when psychologists Bluma, Zeigarnik, and Kurt Lewin were observing the behavior of cafe staff. Zeigarnik noticed that the waiters possessed a flawless, highly complex memory for specific orders. They could track a dozen different drinks and meals across multiple tables without writing a single item down. But the exact second a table's bill was settled, the waiters experienced total amnesia regarding it. Information that was perfectly crisp moments earlier simply vanished from their recall. This observation suggested that the human brain inherently prioritizes incomplete tasks. It holds on to them, turning daily micro-delays into an invisible compounding cognitive leak. This is known as the Zeigarnik Effect, the psychological tendency to remember interrupted or unfinished tasks better than completed ones. Every deferred decision, unread email, or unfinished task acts as an open loop. To keep it alive, your brain allocates working memory, siphoning mental RAM away from the present. The amygdala, your primitive alarm system, registers this loop as lingering uncertainty. This misinterpretation leads to a steady drip of cortisol into your bloodstream. Your body maintains a low-level, persistent fight-or-flight response over tasks that have not even happened yet. What evolved as a simple survival mechanism to ensure task completion has mutated into a constant biological tax on focus. Psychologists classify the resulting exhaustion as open-loop fatigue. This narrative-based mental fatigue arises when the brain is stuck in unresolved story loops, trying to make sense of situations it cannot yet file away. This fatigue builds when work-life boundaries blur, particularly when unfinished tasks from the workday linger into the weekend, preventing the brain from transitioning into a restorative state. This model illustrates the pipeline from incomplete work to emotional distress. Unfinished tasks trigger affective rumination, stressful thoughts preventing restoration. Occupational self-efficacy moderates this connection. High work competence acts as a protective factor, weakening the link to anxiety. Without these protective boundaries, unclosed loops physically prevent neurological recovery. This keeps the nervous system on alert, locking individuals in a state of chronic background distress. Modern digital architectures exploit this biological sensitivity to incompletion to monopolize your attention. When you leave an interface incomplete, you experience attention residue. Your cognitive capacity remains anchored to the previous screen, even after you move on. This activates the Overthinking effect, a magnetic psychological urge to resume an interrupted task and discharge the mental tension. Software-as-a-service platforms and media companies engineer dark patterns to artificially trigger this urge. Gamified progress trackers and episodic cliffhangers are intentional interruptions designed to keep a cognitive loop open. By imposing incomplete tasks, these platforms create artificial cognitive tension. They rely on your brain seeking relief from that tension by re-engaging with their product. We operate in environments optimized to keep our mental loops open and our cognitive resources captive. The drive for completion extends into the way we process emotional history and human relationships. Unresolved conversations, unexpressed apologies, or fractured relationship dynamics can function as massive, invisible cognitive loops. Within Gestalt psychology, it is theorized that the Zeigarnik effect helps explain why individuals often struggle to let go of toxic or unfulfilling relationships. The mind views the lack of closure as an unfinished emotional storyline. This can drive a subconscious attempt to seek out similar, destructive patterns in an effort to finally finish the narrative and reach a state of resolution. Whether it is a minor task or an unresolved emotional experience, the brain's hunger for narrative closure exerts a persistent influence on our behavior and focus. There is a specific neurological loophole in the brain's threat response system that allows us to bypass this overload. The primitive brain does not actually require a task to be physically finished to stand down its alarm. The amygdala accepts a trusted, definitive plan for the task's completion as a form of closure. Psychologists Roy Baumeister and E.J. Mesacampo conducted research into the cognitive effects of unfulfilled goals on human attention. They found that committing to a specific execution plan abruptly stops the activation and interference effects of the Zeigarnik loop. This creates a process of neurological offloading. Writing down a precise step-by-step plan transfers the burden of remembering the task from your internal RAM to an external record. Externalizing your intentions severs the cognitive loop, silencing the body's alarm system without requiring the task to be completed immediately. We can measure the efficiency of this planning through event-related potential, or ERP, a technique that records electrical brain activity in response to specific stimuli. Researchers use this to track how implementation intentions, or structured plans, alter the amount of cognitive energy the brain consumes during decision-making. As the visualization shows, structured planning reduces the magnitude of N1 and P300 amplitude spikes. In neurology, high P300 spikes correlate with high cognitive resource consumption. When these spikes flatten, it indicates the brain is operating with significantly less effort and strain. Reducing this resource drain frees up biological energy to support neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to learn, adapt, and form new neural connections. Consider the physics of a light bulb versus a laser beam. Both draw on the same energy source. A scattered mind acts like the light bulb, wasting energy across 100 open loops. A focused mind acts like a laser, aligning its energy in a single direction to cut through obstacles. To maintain this focus, a weekly closing ritual is necessary. This system signals completion to the nervous system by clearing inboxes and scheduling unfinished tasks for the following week. Sustained focus depends on your ability to manage your mental RAM. By engineering a consistent architecture of closure, you can reclaim your cognitive resources and starve the anxiety of the unfinished.